Good morning, it's 27th of June, Tuesday, and this is my trade plan for today. On my screen at the moment I have the hourly SPY chart open, so I'm going to be looking at SPY to start off with. The levels are pretty much the same levels as yesterday, so I've got a couple of higher risk areas and a couple of lower risk areas which I'll be watching. So I'm watching this area here, which is not marked on my chart, 431 area, for a possible bounce double bottom off of yesterday if we see it come back down and back up. But that's going to be a high risk play, something I'll only go very small into with a very tight stop loss just below that pivot. And the reason for that is the main area I'm watching for is the 430 area here, and that's more of a major bounce area. Zooming out, you can see, I think I mentioned yesterday as well, we've got this area of resistance, it broke through the resistance, became support, and it retested it as support as well, so it's a known area of support, and we haven't quite come down. We did try to get down there yesterday on that candle. Zoom in a bit more. So yesterday the market tried to push it down, but didn't quite get it. It got as far as 431.19, but really I'm watching for 430. So this is going to be a full size position if we get down here. And what I mean by full size position is I will probably look to take a entry within the zone, a second entry at 430.03, so I'm layering in. And if we come down, we touch the zone and immediately reject it, I'll have a quarter of a position, and I can use that as my trade. If we see it go further, if we see the market push right down, then I'll get in there, I'll add again there, and I'll be looking for another add, maybe another add as it pulls back to that area. And I want to leave this zone and break over this pivot with a full size position for run up. My targets will be most likely this area I've already marked off as a first target, and then I'll be watching for the 50 moving average and this area around here, and obviously these areas I've got marked off, which is 435 to 434.60 and 437 area. So that's what I'm looking for if we're going to bounce and the market sells off. We had some news at 8:30, and we were down here, and it sold, and it pretty much ran itself up and brought itself back down again. So we're quite close to an area I'm watching. This is quite an high risk area, so I'll be very careful of that area. For rejections, I've got two possible areas. I've got this rejection area here, which we tested yesterday perfectly. In fact, I got in at this area at 434.62. but on the ES at 4400, and I'll be watching for the same type of pattern again. So I'll be looking for it to run up, and I prefer to see big powerful bars coming in, and then those big power bars start getting smaller and smaller because it's running out of power and running out of juice, and it means the buyers are no longer interested. And then I'll be watching the volume, so as we run up we'll see increasing volume coming up, and so the volume will increase, it will level off while the market is deciding what to do, and then it's either going to break out, so I'm going to create a flag and break out, so I'll be looking for a break and retest, or it's going to reject back down. But again, I'll be watching volume, and I'll be looking for a good indicator for this, probably a top and tail candle, and on higher volume as well, so I want to see a big volume spike there with some average size volumes. And then the follow through, I want to see big solid red candles with increasing volume as it's following through, and then when that volume starts to tail off, we get a lower volume area, or we get a rejection candle, it looks like that, then that may, and then with another high volume, that may be my sign to get out. So that's kind of what I'm watching for. So I'm watching for areas of confirmation, both on moving averages. I'll be watching the 60-minute moving averages over the 5-minute. because these have more weighting on what the resistance will be. So we've got the 200 up here, we've got the 50 here, so these are the areas to watch for. If the market does break and retest and carry on selling, then I'll be watching another area which is 437, well 436.50 to 437, and this will be another full size rejection area. And again, I'll play the same as what I would play here. I'll watch the volume, watch for levels, and then just keep the stop above the pivot high. Well, that's a SPY, so let's look at the MES or the ES. So on my screen now is the MES chart, 1 hour time frame. We're still running down this trend line. We haven't broken it yet, and there's an interesting setup here. It could be a double bottom we're looking at the bottom. But what I want to see today is for this pivot at the bottom to break. I want to see us sell off into this pivot, and what I'm looking for is either a bounce back up to confirm this double bottom, or if the market's selling off hard, I want it to maybe pull back up into this area. I want to see a little bit of daylight on the pullback. So for example, if it does this, we break down, break down, break down, and then we start pulling back a bit up to this area, and then for the move back down again. That's what I'm looking for, something like that. And when I say by daylight, what I'm looking for is a good bit of daylight here, so that it does pull back, physically pulls back, runs out of steam and carries on. And I'll also be watching the volume. So for this breakdown, we see a bit of high volume as it breaks down, so the volume may be a bit higher coming into this break of this area. Then we'll see a low volume pullback, so it'll be decreasing volume as we're pulling back, and that will show that there's no interest in buyers at all. And then I'll be watching for this. I'll be watching this key here for a little bit more volume, and I'll be looking for the entry to break the last red, change of colour candle to break the last red for the confirmation down. So that could also be an add if we get up to here and we're watching for a reject down. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. So that's my main level. So we are quite close to this area for a bounce, and it is considered a higher risk bounce if we get down there. So the bounce will be half a size, the break and retest will be a full size. So, and then on the opposite direction, we're looking for rejections. We've got a higher risk rejection area here. So to confirm, the bounce area is 43.68. That's going to be the high risk bounce, or 43.68.50 or 43.68 area will be a break and retest low. Then we're looking at 43.88, 43.87 for a very high risk rejection. You know, we've had a few areas here. We've got an area support, It came through that area. It ignored the support, come back down, but it did retest it again yesterday. So, and it retested it again in the post market last night. So it is a strongish area, but still a half size position for me. So that's 43.87, 43.88. If the market's strong and we see it push up and it gets over this pivot, so that's the key point in this pivot, 43.87. If it breaks over that, I might be looking for a break and retest long. And then I'll have a rejection area, so this will be my target, probably my full out if I'm long at this point. And 4400 is an area I've been watching again for a reject. So same as yesterday, I took a nice trade on 4400 just there. Assuming it gets there, this time it's above the 50 moving average, and it could prove that it's it might be the beginning of a new uptrend, so I've got to tread carefully. So either we can see a rejection, or if we are in a new change of trend, we might see it break through and go off higher. So break and retest. So I'm going to watch these areas, and I would know which way it's going by watching the volume as well and watching the price. And of course, keep an eye on both the SPY and the SPX. So the reason I keep an eye on the SPX, just open up the chart. If we see an area of resistance on the SPX and I'm looking to go long, say for example SPY, it's done a break and retest on SPY and we're coming up to here, so the SPY is about here on the and the SPX is about there. I don't want to go long into this area of resistance because it's going to just be a weight, it's just going to stop me out. So if the SPX can get above this area of resistance and ES is above that area of resistance and SPY is above an area of resistance, then a long will look good. But if any of them is below resistance, or the other way around, if we're looking for a bounce at the bottom and we've got an area of support on one but not the others, and it looks more like resistance, then just be very careful of that trade. So that's why I keep 1, 2, 3, 4 thumbnails on. I have the ES or the MES, the SPY, and I have the SPX as well open, so I can keep an eye on them all at the same time. In fact, that's it. I was going to bring my thumbnails down. Here we go. So this is what I have open on my top monitor. I have NASDAQ, Qs, ES minis, E-mini futures, and the SPY, SPX, and I also have a couple of sectors as well, so financial, consumer staples, and healthcare. And what I'm looking for is for any of these sectors, if they all look rather bearish, then it may just drive the SPX and the S&P futures back down as well. So they're more of an indicator, and I think there's another chart I had open, I've lost it now, but that was a good leading indicator of what the market might be doing as well. I'll dig that out and I'll mention it in my next review. Okay, have a good day, and I hopefully will see some of you today. Take care.